Welcome friends to the channel, and today we are going to deal with one of the greatest essayists of all time, Joseph Addison's Spectator number 10, the essay. Imagine your morning routine: tea, bread, butter, and one slightly snug essayist lecturing you about your life choices. Welcome to London, March 12, 1711. Joseph Addison has just dropped the Spectator number 10, basically a daily self-help routine for an entire city. And he wants his paper to be a part of your tea equipage. Today, we are going to see how Addison tries to turn newspapers into moral gym sessions, why he low-key roasts half of London, and what this has to do with your doom scrolling habit. We have divided the entire analysis into several segments. Now it is about the first segment, flexing the audience and the mission. Addison opens with what we would now call a humble brag. He says here's the great city is asking day by day after his paper, and his publisher tells him there are already 3,000 copies distributed every day. Then he does the math. If each paper has around 20 readers, he gets to boast of about 3,000 disciples in London and Westminster. Yes, he literally calls them disciples. Imagine subscribing to a newsletter and suddenly you are in a cult. I may reckon about 3,000 disciples in London and Westminster. This is the quote from the text directly. Now, let us analyze this. Jokes aside, this number matters. Addison presents himself not just as an entertainer, but as a kind of moral teacher. His readers are told to distinguish themselves from the thoughtless head of their ignorant, unattentive brethren. If you read The Spectator, you are elite. If you don't, you are the herd. He then states the mission of the paper in one of the most famous lines. He will enliven morality with wit and temper wit with morality, so that readers find both instruction and diversion in his daily speculation. That's early 18th century code for I shall make ethics binge-worthy. I shall endeavor to enliven morality with wit and temper with morality. This is a direct quote again from the text. So this is like him promising, don't worry guys, I am not just going to lecture you. I'll roast you politely and improve your soul. How funny. The second segment, philosophy at the tea table. Addison then goes full influencer. He wants to hack your routine. He fears that virtue and discretion in his readers are only short, transient, intermittent starts of thought. A quotation from the text. Those brief moments when you intend to be a better person right before scrolling Instagram. So he says, he shall refresh your memories from day to day till I have recovered them out of that desperate state of vice and folly into which the age is fallen. Dramatic, yes. Effective, possibly. The quotation from the text is that mind that lies fallow but a single day sprouts up in follies that are only to be killed by a constant and assiduous culture. Now, let us analyze that line easily. This is a great metaphor. If your mind lies fallow, even one day, it sprouts weeds, follies that can only be killed by constant and assiduous culture. The translation is this, that miss one episode and you are morally doomed. Addison then compares himself to Socrates. He recalls how Socrates was said to have brought philosophy down from heaven to inhabit among men. Addison wants it said of him that he has brought philosophy out of closets and libraries, schools and colleges to dwell in club and assemblies, at tea tables and in coffee houses. So the line goes in this way, that I shall be ambitious to have it said of me that I have brought philosophy out of closet and libraries, schools and colleges to dwell in clubs and assemblies and at tea tables and in coffee houses. So philosophy is moving from the ivory tower to the group chat, or in his words, the tea table. He even advises we regulated families to treat the paper as part of their morning tea setup, to be looked upon as a part of the tea equipage. Think of the Spectator as that one YouTube channel you always play at breakfast because it makes you feel slightly smarter than everyone else. The third segment, better than news from Muscovy. News versus self-knowledge. Next, Addison starts a fight with other newspapers. He quotes Sir Francis Bacon. A well written book is like Moses' serpent that swallowed the serpents of the Egyptians. That's a slightly biblical way of saying a really good book crushes its competitors. But then he suddenly goes almost Socratic again. He asks his readers whether it is not much better to be let into the knowledge of oneself than to hear what passes in Muscovy or Poland. The quotation is like this: whether is it not much better to be let into the knowledge of oneself than to hear what passes in Muscovy or Poland? Now let me analyze this. Here he contrasts self-knowledge with foreign news. He prefers writings that tend to the wearing out of ignorance, passion and prejudice over those that inflame hatred and make enmities irreconcilable. It's shockingly modern. He is basically asking, is it better to study yourself or to obsess over the news cycle that mostly makes you angry? Replace Muscovy and Poland with Twitter and breaking news and you were there. Segment 4. The fraternity of spectators, professional observers. People who watch life like it's Netflix. Now Addison gets playful. He dedicates the paper to his good brothers and allies, the fraternity of spectators who live in the world without having anything to do in it. These are people who, either by the affluence of their fortunes or laziness of the dispositions, have no other business with the rest of mankind but to look upon them. The quotation reads like this: no other business with the rest of mankind but to look upon them. The analysis follows this. He then lists them: contemplative tradesmen, titular physicians, fellows of the Royal Society, templates that are not given to be contentious, and statesmen that are out of business. In modern terms, these are your retired uncles, armchair critics, and professional lookers. If you have ever sat in a cafe, just people watching and silently judging, congratulations, you are part of the fraternity of spectators. Addison is basically your patron saint, but it gives them a purpose. They are the ones that consider the world as a theater and desire to form a right judgment of those who are the actors on it. He wants to train their judgment so their spectating becomes intelligent, not just idle gossip. Segment 5. The blanks of society, people without ideas. The original empty scrolls. Addison then turns to a more tragic group, what he calls the blanks of society. These are people altogether unfurnished with ideas till the business and conversation of the day has supplied them. He describes them with mock pity. They wander out in the morning asking the first man they meet whether there was any news stirring and thus collect materials for thinking. The quotation reads like this: this needy person do not know what to talk of till about 12 o'clock in the morning. If you analyze this becomes very interesting. By noon, they are pretty good judges of the weather, how, know which way the wind sits, and whether the Dutch mail be come in. Their entire mental universe depends on what they hear first. Addison notes that they lie at the mercy of the first man they meet, and grave or impertinent all the day long, according to the notions which they have imbibed in the morning. This is satire, but it's also a serious point about intellectual dependence. If you don't think for yourself, the loudest person you meet in the morning programs your brain for the day. So Addison begs them, don't even step out of your own room before reading the Spectator. He promises to instill sound and wholesome sentiments to improve their conversation for the next 12 hours. In other words, he wants to be their default setting, the morning update before their day's software starts glitching. Segment 6. Women, ribbons, and real intelligence. From ribbons to reason. Addison then says, then we hit the most controversial and revealing part, his address to the female world. He complains that Not enough care has been taken to find proper employment and diversions for the fair ones, that means the women. Their amusements, he says, are designed for them rather as they are women than as they are reasonable creatures and are more adapted to the sex than to the species. That line is sharp. He is criticizing a culture that treats women as agenda first, human beings late. The quotation reads like this: their amusement seemed contrived for them rather as they are women than as they are reasonable creatures. It describes ordinary women. Their great scene of business is the toilet, the right adjusting of their hair, the principal employment of their lives, and sorting of a suit of ribbons is a very good morning work. A trip to a mercer's or toy shop is such fatigue that they are unfit for anything else till the day after. Their more serious occupations are sewing and embroidery. Their greatest drudgery is making jellies and sweetmeats. It's funny but savage. However, he doesn't stop at mocking. He immediately says he knows multitudes of women of a more elevated life and conversation who move in an exalted sphere of knowledge and virtue, joining all the beauties of the mind to the ornaments of dress. These women inspire not just over but a kind of awe and respect. His aim, he claims, is to increase the number of these by publishing his daily paper as innocent if not improving entertainment. Diverting his female readers' minds from greater trifles, he wants to give finishing touches to women he calls the most beautiful pieces in human nature, pointing out both their blemishes and embellishments. So Addison is sexist by our standards but progressive by his own. He reinforces stereotypes. Women are reasonable creatures who deserve intellectual and moral cultivation. He wants them to spend a quarter of an hour in a day on his paper, reassuring them that it causes no hindrance, no business basically. Ladies, read this. You shall still have time for your embroidery. Segment 7. Fear of being boring and the small wits. In the closing section, Addison addresses a very modern anxiety. Will I run out of content? His friends fear he won't keep up the speed of a paper that comes out every day. He comes them with a bold promise. He will give it over as soon as he grows dull. The quotation goes in this way: I will promise them faithfully to give it over as soon as I grow dull. He knows this will be matter of great raillery of the small wits. Those minor smart guys who will constantly remind him it is high time to give over. They shall tell him to keep his word and tease him with little pleasantries. But he enters his caveat against his raillery. In other words, I joked that I would quit when I'm boring. But please, don't use that joke against me. It's meta humor and defensive pride rolled into one. So in one short essay, Addison manages to brag about his audience, define mission, wit plus morality, turn breakfast reading into moral therapy, roast idle observers and empty talkers, critique women's limited roles while inviting them into the world of ideas, and finally fear the YouTubers' eternal fear becoming dull. 300 years later, we are still asking the same questions. What should you read? Who shapes our opinions? And are we using our leisure to become better or just louder? Now, if you enjoyed having Addison as your slightly judgy 18th century life coach, tell me in the comments, are you more of a fraternity of spectators type? Or a blank of society? Or one of those exalted readers mixing ribbons with philosophy? And remember, the mind that lies fallow but a single day sprout up in follies. This is in a very nutshell about Addison's essay Spectator number 10. Hope you enjoyed. And if you drop a comment in the comment section. Thank you very much. Stay healthy, stay blessed.